Hello crypto friends, hope you're all having a good weekend. Going to do a video here on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Golem again, and then later this weekend I'm going to do a video on some of the altcoins. We have 4 altcoins selected that members have chosen. So we're going to look at those as well, and I'm going to try and do an altcoin video every weekend will be the goal. We'll see how that goes. So starting with the weekly timeframes on all these names, and then we're just going to zoom in. And really, weekly time frame is what you're interested in if you're long term, looking months to years out. And then depending on your strategy is how significant you put the weight of your decision making in those shorter term time periods. So if you're swinging long, you don't care about the hourly chart. And looking at that hourly chart can help sway you from your game plan. So I would suggest staying away from the hourly chart if you don't intend on trading short term. So here on the weekly time frames, we're forming a lot of bearish reversal candlesticks. And one thing that we've learned in this space in the past couple months is that the moves happen a lot more magnified in terms of time. They happen a lot faster. So whereas with a stock, I would expect, longer term consolidation to take place over a couple of weeks after a huge breakout move, crypto almost does it in a couple days. So I'm not so sure how these weekly candlesticks are going to be utilized in terms of giving us information going forward. I'm putting most of my weight into the daily time frame at this point. So these are bearish reversal candlesticks forming on the weekly time frame. We can see the double top here on Bitcoin, but you see this is what I'm talking about with the magnified action, where this one consolidation that we've seen, which was really 2 red days, we gave back 2 green weeks of action. So normally I would expect that consolidation to take a couple weeks to take back a couple weeks. It happened in a couple days. So Ethereum here, it's a bearish reversal spinning top candlestick with upper wick showing profit taking. Litecoin is a very bullish chart. We're hitting all-time highs. And looking at Golem, very strong weekly chart as well, just building bases of support and seeing continuation and higher highs there as well. So my game plan, the last video that I did, I had my longer term positions and I had my stop loss levels at the lows of, let's look at the daily charts here. So we'll look at the daily charts on all these names, and it was Litecoin that I was in for a long position, and I am still in my Golem position. I have been flipping Golem. I'll go over that later. But Litecoin, I did stop out here, and I took the biggest loss that I've taken in the crypto space. And I was looking for a break of June 12th. 6/12 is when I exited. So when $27 broke, I bailed. And I stuck to my stop loss level, and it was probably about 3 times the biggest loss that I've taken in the cryptocurrency space. And I was perfectly okay with that. I stuck to my guns in terms of sticking to my game plan, and I didn't want to take that loss, but I took it. I avoided some further downside, and you look at this chart and you say, oh, well, if you just held, you would have been just fine and you would have made a lot of money. That's the case, but I got stopped out, and then I went to work. And over the next 36 hours after getting stopped out, I went on Ethereum and Bitcoin. And looking at Ethereum and Bitcoin, look at the dip we saw. We went down to 253. I made an initial purchase. After I went cash in Litecoin, after taking that huge loss, I had my cash available, and I took an initial position down in the 250s here on Ethereum, and I flipped it. The day after that huge loss, I went 5 for 5, and I made back all of the losses plus some. And then, since then, I've just been flipping continuously, and I was able to get this Litecoin, some of this move to the upside. I didn't capture the whole move by any means, but the combination of capturing the ETH bounce combined with the LTC bounce, which took a little bit longer in terms of the development, has given me greater gains than if I just sat tight, sat with my huge red position, didn't take the loss, and then eventually would have been able to take profit here. So I was fortunate in the sense that I was active and flipping and regaining all of those big losses that I had taken. But where we stand right now, I have the largest account that I've had in this cryptocurrency space, and I took my account 35% in the 36 hours following my stop out and huge loss. So really, really lucky that the timing for the bounce was there. But again, it was because I stopped out and had the cash available to trade with that allowed me to really take advantage of all of the oversold bounces that we saw. So where I stand right now, I am currently back in Litecoin. I am liking the hourly consolidation, and I'm still holding my Golem position, and I've been flipping Golem. I've added about 10% to my long-term position just by flipping it with overbought RSI levels. And again, I cannot stress enough, I am trading, aside from looking at the previous price action for support and resistance levels, I am trading pretty much 80 to 90% of the analysis that I'm doing is all RSI. I'm anticipating when the RSI levels are going to be oversold and looking what those prices will be, doing some guesstimating, but putting my bids at those levels, getting filled, flipping, And the RSI is telling me when I want to sell and when I want to buy. And I cannot stress enough how significant this indicator is in this space. So here on Litecoin, this is the hourly time frame, and this is why I think that we are getting primed for another move to the upside here. We've got our tops up here where we have been seeing some clear resistance just under $40. There is a good amount of tokens on $40 resistance, that psychological level, but the bulls are buying the dip still. We see the big bull volume on the breakout, the declining volume on consolidation, and I am looking for another leg to the upside here. I will exit my position if we break down and see some losses of support. So zooming in on the 5-minute time frame, I was entering some of my position on this pullback and on this pullback. And if there's one thing I've learned in Litecoin, it's that I want to be buying with limit orders as we're heading down. I do not have good success when I am buying into bullish momentum. I want to be buying on consolidation. So I'm watching this uptrend here on the 5-minute time frame. If we were to lose this uptrend level, I would probably bail out and take a step back and reassess the situation. But as of right now, I am still liking the potential for Litecoin to have further upside this weekend. So we'll see if that does play out. This uptrend line right now is at about $38. And looking at the base of support built at 37, we've got 37.10, 37.20. So those are some important support levels as well. So that is what I'm going to be watching here on Litecoin. In terms of Bitcoin, these daily bounces are very significant. And in the video that I did last a couple days ago, we were looking at Ethereum, and I was pointing out the consolidation that we saw back here in May. And it started to look pretty similar. And here's our 3 days, bulls buying the dip, volume climax on this pullback, big lower wick, bullish reversal hammer, confirmation. Same thing. The volume climax had me very, very confident that the bulls were going to be buying this dip, and the follow-through we've seen is great, but it's a very similar pattern. The 3 days of pullback took back 4 days of upside. 3 days of pullback took back 4 days of upside. It's the same consolidation pattern, and it led to continuation in new all-time highs. I'm not going to say that we're going to hit new all-time highs without bouncing around in this channel for a few days, maybe even a couple weeks at this point, because of the range that we are seeing now. Right now, we're playing in a range of 420 to 253, so that's a very significant range. It's $167, so we have a lot of space to be bouncing around and do this equilibrium pattern again. I have been anticipating the equilibrium pattern to happen in the past, and the bulls have blown through it without needing that consolidation. But if we were to see this equilibrium pattern play out, we would set a lower high compared to 420. We would pull back and set a higher low compared to 253 and watch this pattern continue to tighten up. So the range last time, we had a range of 217 down to 115. So that was about a $100 range as opposed to a $167 range. So there is more space to be playing around within this current range. So Bitcoin as well, we have a lot more work to do. This is not as bullish a chart as Ethereum by any means. We pull back much more significantly. In 4 days of pullback, we gave back weeks of upside. So we have a lot of work to do here. I would anticipate lower highs, higher lows bouncing around here on Bitcoin, even more so than on Ethereum, because there are more resistance levels. We had a little bounce attempt here on the daily time frame that led to lower lows, and you look at Ethereum, and we didn't have that bounce attempt, so we don't have that resistance to be dealing with. So Ethereum is still a stronger chart, technically speaking, in the short term, and we're watching to see if we set a lower high, which again I do anticipate we will. So zooming in on the hourly time frame, we can see the bulls have slowed down a bit. We got in on this dip due to the huge volume, nice big time gains to the upside in the short term. I was comfortable holding this position overnight with a stop loss set. Stop loss didn't trigger, woke up to big gains on Friday. So a really nice bounce to be playing. And again, it's the volume climax that gives us confidence, along with the very oversold RSI levels that had us looking for this turnaround, at least in the short term. So where we stand, cautious of upside from here. I do believe that we are seeing attention shift from Bitcoin and Ethereum to Litecoin. Speaking of Litecoin, here we go to 39. Would love to see a break of 39.30. So my strategy on Litecoin here, and I'm sorry I'm jumping all around here in this video, but I entered the vast majority of my position, I'd say about 80% of my position right now, on these consolidation pullbacks, and I'm sitting now with a little bit of cash where I'm going to be attempting to, slap the ask when we need a little bit of momentum, or maybe give you some bid support and walk it up and try to help the move to the upside. And And the level to break after 39.30, we're going to be looking up here at the recent high of 39.74. And if we break $40, we should see another quick, I would not be surprised to see 10% move after $40 in a very short amount of time for LTC. So that's what I'm going for. I'm risking about $1 to the downside before I would exit, and the reward is about a $5 move to the upside. So the risk to reward certainly favors reward in this scenario. And again, I am liking the short-term action with the bulls buying these dips. And I'm liking what is going on while I'm in this video. Nice to be in my trade before starting the video rather than missing the trade. So that's what we've got here. Looking at Litecoin, the daily time frame, and we were looking for this breakout. This is why I initiated my long position, because of the clear little lower high pattern, the fact that we had not seen a new higher high in weeks and weeks after we've been consolidating. All of the attention has been on Bitcoin and Litecoin, or excuse me, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it has now shifted with big time bull volume. The day is very, very young right now. We still have 10 hours of trading, and look at the volume. We're going to see volume comparable to the highest volume day we've ever seen in Litecoin, and that was at about 1 million shares, or 1 million tokens, and we are now at, well, these are rounding actually, so that's not a good, but we're going to be watching for very significant bullish volume, which we already have on the day. So looking for further upside here on Litecoin, checking it on Golem. So Golem here, hourly time frame looking great, nice uptrend. This is actually the daily time frame looking great. The fact that we're not seeing as significant upper wicks, that's when things shifted. The upper wicks were showing the profit taking, bears knocking the price down. Then we started to see lower wicks. Look at that shift. So the lower wicks started forming, showing bulls buying the dip. And now we've got continuation to the upside. We have very key resistance looking at the hourly chart. And we also have a nice pattern here, a cup and handle. Now, the cup and handle pattern is one of the most misdiagnosed patterns that I see on the internet. And it is a fairly rare pattern to see it follow through meeting the guidelines of what the description of the pattern is. And whenever I look for it, I think about the psychology of what the pattern represents. And it's the left side of the cup is a resistance level. We pull back, we establish support. It's a nice rounded bottom. We look for upside. But what has to happen on the right side of the cup for the psychology to be relevant is that we see a lower high. We see the inability to break the left side of the cup, and then we see consolidation as a result from that. So what is happening is the bulls say, okay, let's break this resistance. We're going up. They say, oh, we're topping out. We're running out of steam at this resistance level. I'm going to take some profit. This is the profit taking of the handle of the cup, and then the bulls show back up. So if we see this breakout follow through, it is going to be a perfect cup and handle pattern, and really, this has to happen sometime in the next 5 or 6 hours, I would say. If we were to bounce around here sideways for 10, 12 hours, that would negate the potential of this specific pattern. It wouldn't mean we're bearish by any means. We are absolutely still bullish here on this chart, but it would just negate the possibility that this is the pattern that is following through. But here we are. I'm liking the positioning here on Golem, and I am looking for a breakout. So 22964 is the high of the right side of the cup. 2316 is the high of the left side of the cup. And look at the daily time frame where this resistance is coming from. Look at the high of the second day after the last big breakout we had, which was the breakout on the listing on Coinbase. We had a high at 23225. So we are topping out at that resistance, just under it. And if we break it, the only resistance that we're looking at is up at 26146. So there is not a lot of resistance if we can get over these low 2.3s, and it looks like we are going to test these levels again. I am liking the positioning here on Golem. I'm very comfortable in my position, up about 30%, adding 10% to my long-term holdings, and I will continue to flip it if we get these opportunities. And what I'm looking to when I flip it is I'm looking for an RSI on the hourly time frame approaching 80, and I'm looking for an RSI on the 5-minute time frame approaching over 80, and that's when I'm looking to take profit. So I took profit here after the overextended move to the upside. I reloaded on the way down, and just doing so based on the RSI. One thing about the RSI levels, they're really nice on the 5-minute time frame, but my confidence doubles when I have the hourly time frame aligned with what's going on the 5-minute. And what I mean by that is on the dump, when we saw Ethereum down to 250, we had the hourly RSI oversold and the 5-minute RSI oversold. That's the kind of scenario where I'm comfortable buying and walking away from the computer and knowing that we will see a bounce in the short to midterm future over the next rest of the day because of those things lining up. So same thing on when to take profit. If the hourly RSI and the 5-minute RSI are both up around 80 and overbought, I'm comfortable knowing that there's a pullback coming in the short term and locking in that profit. So again, all about the RSI, and when the 5-minute and the hourly line up with what they're telling us, the signals that they are telling us, that is when my confidence doubles. So that's what we got. And into the rest of the day, I'm going to be watching Litecoin and Golem very closely and keeping an eye on Bitcoin and Ethereum. But again, it looks like the hourly time frame, well, nice little pop here on Bitcoin to hit higher highs. But it does look like, obviously, looking at Ethereum here, that attention is shifting away. Look at the volume. The volume has completely dropped off. We will see a volume spike in Ethereum today, this afternoon. We can't see it just decrease volume and trade sideways forever. So we're going to see a spike in volume, and we're either going to see a move back down to the 340s, the low 340s, or we're going to see a bull move back up over the 364 range. And watching the volume will indicate when that move is happening. As you can see, it's just continuously dropping off here. And again, that will spike. So that's what we've got going forward. I'm loving being cash and just jumping in and out and jumping on those opportunities. And I'm not lamenting over any profits left off on the table or any missed trades or anything like that. This space has been so good to us and has been so very kind to technical analysts and their trading that it's really the kind of thing where like this morning, I just woke up and I flipped Litecoin and made a solid day's gain, which normally in the stock market before this cryptocurrency, like I would have hit more than my goal for the day in my first trade before I even really open my eyes and get out of bed. So that sets the day on the right note, and anything from here is just all gravy. So trying to capitalize, lock in that profit when I have it, and just looking to continue riding the space. And I am cautious of the fact of how much we have pulled back on Bitcoin and Ethereum, with the possibility that we're going to trade within this wide range for potentially a week or more. So that's what we've got. And again, all the questions in YouTube, I love the comments and all that, but when I get specific questions about altcoins and fundamental research and updates, like I did the last video, and then we saw the big dump here in the crypto space, and everybody's asking if I'm still holding and all that, I'm in the chat room. I'm in our chat room with the chart guys. I'm constantly talking to our members and all the trial members, so that's where the updated information comes from. I can't be on YouTube really updating all this stuff in addition to that. So if you do want up-to-the-date stuff, it is in the chat room where that is going on. And props to the community that is building in the chat room, because it is almost 24 hours at this point, and everybody's doing a really good job of helping each other and helping each other learn and sharing charts and all that. So that's what we've got. And I appreciate you watching, and I will put that altcoin video out sometime before the end of Sunday. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a good weekend.